Well, it is a wonderful way to start a new business week. This is welcoming you very specially to the first Business Day edition of Global Morning. I am Uyag Mofwegwe. As always, appreciating you for making that very crucial decision to join us here first thing, top of your day on the program.
It's a beautiful day, and we're excited to be here again.
As always.
For me, the weekend seems to be too short. I don't know for others. Probably because, I don't know, we don't really have weekends to ourselves because the work goes on from wherever you are, anytime, any day. It's good to be with you this morning once again, Uyi.
And I share that pleasure, Ramsey, I must tell you.
All right, my name is Ramsey Enoch, and it's so good to have you right there. It's another day again for us to embark on a beautiful ride, all with you. Many thanks for joining us.
Wonderful way to start the show, no doubt about that. My only concern, Ramsey, is how that we are beginning the working week on a note of strike action. The Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, had threatened, for a while before today, that unless and until certain conditions were met, it means there was no going back on a 2-week strike, some sort of warning strike starting this morning. And from what we know today, that strike kicks in this morning. We are aware that the national leadership of the union has already sent a memo, quote unquote, across institutions of higher learning in the country, of course, public institutions, that is, to down tools, as they say. One would have thought, as is always the case sometimes, by midnight, say late night yesterday and this morning, there would have been some sort of truce between ASU and the federal government, but that has not happened. Instead, what we have seen is a radical departure from what often happens, which is the federal government now saying that if ASU goes on strike, is going to, as it were, activate the no work, no pay policy. But of course, we're seeing multiple instances where ASU had defied that threat and still went ahead to down tools. And of course, as always, at some point, there was some compromise and lecturers went back to class. But are we not tired of running around this mountain?
Well, the issue of ASU, I think it's tiring at this point in time. And it keeps bringing so many questions to the hearts of Nigerians. What's the place of our education in Nigeria? Because these are the actors, as it has to do with education, university education, tertiary education in Nigeria. Whether you like it or not, you cannot do without the Academic Staff Union of Universities because they are always there. And it's pathetic. Sometimes you feel bad sometimes when you see these things happening over and over and over and over again. Then you see some other person somewhere doing almost close to nothing and cutting away with so much. But these people who are giving value keep begging. You know, before ASU embark on any strike, the first thing they do is give a warning strike, do warning, a lot of memos, a lot of letters. If nothing is being done, if they are being taken for granted, as the case may be, in quotes, then they embark on strike. Even the strike now is going to be for 2 weeks. This is more like a warning strike, after which, if nothing is being done, they'll go on indefinite strike. Now, let's give it a holistic approach now. Let's view it from the point of the federal government and the point of the union. Someone says something. Someone said, I was in an event, last week, and the past ASU president spoke, gave a remark, and someone sitting by my side said, see, in this country, one of the associations that will never shy away from telling you the truth is ASU. After the man finished speaking, and that went through me. There was this shock that I felt, and this morning, the same thing that I was thinking is what is playing out. All right, what is the relationship between the federal government and the association? One, we're talking about our academics here. See, I don't know, maybe during your time you never had a strike. But for me, I can remember that there was a point that we're even at home for close to 4 months. one of the longest strike, if I could remember, I think happened during my time, and a lot of people went out of school. A lot of people came back to school and their lives were not the same anymore. You see people's CGPA dropping drastically because of the gap. Some persons try to pick it up again. Some persons were like, all right, let me just do whatever it will cost me to just get out of school. And a lot of people it was from that period people started saying education is a scam. Because they felt at that point, some persons even dropped out of school to go and learn trade, go and learn one or two things. And at the long run, they started doing better than those that even stayed back to finish and all of that. What is responsible for all of this? We should be thinking of the kind of society that we are building with all these sagas. What is going to be the end product of all this? But I know our government is a very responsible one, and we're looking forward to a negotiation.
Right.
I don't think ASU is asking for too much. If there could be a negotiation, all right, and settlement between Pengassin and Dangote Refinery within 48 to 72 hours, then I don't think it should be a different ball game, because this is education we're talking about here. We're crying of the deteriorating nature of the educational system, and we're having all of this. I think we should be doing everything possible to make sure this strike doesn't go further than this.
Right. I think Ramsey has made a very brilliant point, and I can almost say with authority that he's speaking the minds of every typical Nigerian, home and abroad. But let's be clear for the records. Ramsey, I think I've had a more extensive history of strike as an undergraduate than you.
Are you saying?
You said 4 months.
I thought I had the longest.
It will interest you to know that as of 2009, I was still an undergraduate, right? Just so we also put it on records. The crux of the back and forth that ASU is having with government today stems from the 2009 agreement that the government reached with ASU, all right? That strike took 8 months. You can do the check. It was almost an academic calendar that was knocked off. So you can imagine students coming back to school, your CGPA had been knocked to rock bottom because, like you said, the gap, the academic deficit, as it were, that had been created. In fact, I had classmates who had gone on to acquire skills just to maximize that window, as it were, all right? But is this something to be proud of? I'm not so sure. But it is instructive to know that affliction should not return the second time. Right? But again, that's a conversation we'll continue to have. Let's take a quick break, everyone. So much to talk about on the program. Behind this short break, we're back, distant time with you. And again, speaking of ASU, I was talking with a colleague and he said, look, let's be very dispassionate about this conversation, Ramsey. I mean, that's what he told me. He said, in the history of whatever grievance ASU would have had against the federal government or whatever discomfort the federal government would have had or felt regarding ASU, since 1999 till date, by his own assessment, he says, look, it is the Tinubu government that has done the most, that has been most understanding with the academic staff union of universities, and he gave his reasons. However, the concerning thing is, on the one hand, ASU is saying that, look, we have on the table an agreement between our union and the federal government dating back to 2009. That is 16 years and counting. Our ask is very simple and straightforward. Implement this agreement. It's called an agreement for a reason. It means that both parties agreed. So nothing was forced down anyone's throats. For what we are hearing now, the Tinubu government is saying, let's renegotiate the clauses, the terms in that agreement. So question is, where does ASU stand? Is ASU favorably disposed to that renegotiation? Or is it adamant and saying, no way, it is cast in concrete, is either we do it the way we had agreed in 2009 or nothing? Fast forward from that, as it stands now, ASU on his own end has said, look, there's no going back, this strike will go forward. The federal government says, well, we have done our bits. If you insist on going on strike, we also will activate the no work, no pay policy. Two elephants again are fighting, and we know who normally suffers. It will be the Nigerian undergraduates and even postgraduate students across our public tertiary institutions all over the country. So what do we need to do? I spoke this week, I should say the week that was, with the Vice Chancellor of University of Jos. Even though we're here to primarily have a conversation around the NUGA Games that will be hosted by that prestigious institution starting from later, a couple of days from now. One of the things I asked him was the model of funding for Nigerian education. Because Ramsey, let's be clear, the bulk of the issue between the federal government and ASUU has to do with money or funding, as we always put it. That's a fact. Everything has to do with funding. Whether you're talking about the welfare of workers in tertiary institutions, especially lecturers, or you're talking about the state of facilities, whether it's the hostel, the classrooms, or the entire environment, campuses, it is still about funding. So the question is, do we have clarity as to how we fund university education in Nigeria? And I cited an example with him, whether it's the UK, across other parts of Europe, the US, Canada, wherever. How is it that they have a model that has worked for them for decades, in some cases for more than 2 centuries? And in Nigeria, we're still not getting on one foot, let alone on both feet. How is it that we keep missing it? What are we not getting right? I talked about the NEL Fund, for example, and he says, look, NEL Fund is a brilliant idea, but is it sufficient? He says, no. In fact, he tells me that, look, NEL Fund is even like scratching the surface. And then we talked about the endowment, which is very popular with universities across the world, including Ivy Leagues and other prestigious universities beyond Africa. And he says that when you talk about endowment, there's also a model to that, and there are dynamics around how you do endowment. And that's why you're able to have scholarships abroad. So Ramsey can say he's going to study for a master's program or a PhD abroad on the basis of the fact that he has been nominated for a scholarship or he has won a scholarship. But that scholarship is being paid for by someone, most times the fund coming from endowment. And he also said that endowment is not something you can plan around, basically. So in the final analysis, his point is that Nigeria must tell itself the truth regarding how we want to fund education. Now, let's be clear. This is coming from a man who is not just the Vice Chancellor of one of Nigeria's foremost universities. He's someone who had also lived in the UK. He had done consulting in the UK. He had worked with universities in the UK. So he has seen both sides of the coin. But the question is, are we ready to tell ourselves the truth? What is the Federal Ministry of Education doing in this regard? Because Ramsey, let's be clear on the final note. If we are not ready to be committed to how we fund education or how we administer education in this country from top to bottom across board, we are not going to make progress as a country. Because when you look at the Human Development Index, the HDI, one of the core elements you find there is education. Of course, you find health. If you miss it in these two areas, in this case, as we're discussing on the show this morning, education, then it means you are going to be limping for a very long time. But the question is it not better to go through the pain, go the whole hog, fix that problem that will make us limp in the education sector, than continue to limp and pretend that all is well?
Well, I think you've said it all. You said it all. The ball is now in the court of the federal government to do the needful. If we must compete favorably,
right,
with other institutions around the globe, then we need to do the needful. A lot of people are clapping. A lot of people are rejoicing concerning NEL Fund. And some other persons are running away from it because anything, LOAN, some Nigerians run away from it.
They don't want to touch it with a 10,000-foot pole.
See, if you call it loan,
right,
a lot of Nigerians, sometimes some even run away from grants because they say, man, this is loan in disguise.
They want to rope us in.
They want to rope us in. You understand? So a lot of people, the past ASUU president was talking in that event I talked about, and he said so many things about NEL Fund, that NEL Fund as it is supposed to be a grant.
Not a loan.
Not a loan.
Again, it comes down to the problem of model.
Problem of model. See, if we want to get this thing right, it is better to sweat it out and get it right once and for all. Instead of limping for a long time. There is a level you limp to that you become lame. That's the truth.
Right.
So instead of you limping on one leg for a very long time, by the time that one leg gets tired, you become crippled.
Right.
So the best thing to do is let's face it once and for all. Let's get these things corrected. There is a lot of cry right now about people jackpying, people leaving the country, brain drain everywhere, you know, in our hospitals and so many other things happening. But as it is right now, there are so many things that we need to do, as a matter of fact, to make sure things are all right. And if I must say, all right, let's look at ASU, for instance. This is lecturers we're talking about here. Some of them are even prof. What is their take home? If you had an agreement with them since 2009 and there is a new administration by the same government, the federal government that we have, if not that we don't have continuity in most of our dealings as government, there is nothing bad if there is an agreement entered with ASU by the federal government. Like you said, it wasn't forced down the throat of anyone. This is an agreement we're talking about here. Let it be implemented. Let it be implemented. Because you can't say, okay, let's just agree. This is ASU. We are talking about academias.
Right.
See, you can't say, all right, let's just agree so that they just suspend the strike, then we'll turn our deaf ears. We'll keep having the crippling nature of what we are having right now in our educational system. And the earlier, the better. Let's get this thing out of the way once and for all. See, our university system can run consistently for 10, 15 years without going on strike. It's workable. It's workable. If we want to do it, we can do it. It's a matter of dedicating one natural resources to this cause. And all of this will become a thing of the past.
I think your point is so instructive, Ramsey. I mean, you're saying that we need to make it a priority number one.
Priority.
Funding our education.
Priority. Let's make it a priority. Like the way, I don't know, but there are certain things that I won't want to say now. But we should know that there is a tomorrow.
Right.
All right? Far ahead from today.
Right. Well, that's profound. That means we have to be very futuristic in our approach to not just funding, but also administering education in this country. And somebody once told me as I was growing up as a young boy, you have two options. You either play now and pay later, or you pay now and play later.
It's a certainty.
Yeah, those options are in front of us as a country. Right. All right, we have the option of also taking a break at this point, and when we return, we'll be looking at the national dailies for you. Please stay with us. Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Monday through Sunday to a wide range of latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest. And the president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
It's time for us to take you through the national dailies and see what the papers are saying this morning. A lot of headlines, and we're beginning from Al Jazeera, Nigeria. Let's see what the headlines on that paper is saying. The big stories where I'm starting from, because it's so striking for me. CSOs move to block Amopiton's confirmation. That is the INEC chairman. Civil society organizations move to block Amopiton's confirmation. If you want to know why, pick a copy of the Al Jazeera. ASUU embarks on 2-week nationwide warning strike. Then this one says 2027, Benga Daniel canvasses for Tinubu's re-election. Page 21 is where you get that detail. NITT malls strengthen synergy with NADDC on CNG, EV technologies and others. FTH Owerri begins implementation of federal government's dialysis subsidy. That is Federal Teaching Hospital in Owerri. Okay, moving away from there, we have other headlines right here. This one says Kano Media Forum tax residents on PVC revalidation. Then NDLEA intercepts 300,000 pills of Exol 5 in Niger and Kaduna State. Security forces killed 9 terrorists, free hostages in Borno. Kwara, that's the kicker. Troops rescue more kidnapped victims' communities. Disease burden, global mortality rate declines by 67%. I think those are the headlines from the Al Jazeera, Nigeria this morning as we move to the next paper.
All right, thank you, Ramsey. Let's begin now with the Nigerian Tribune for you this morning. The first one here, just top left corner of the paper, it says INEC chairman, that's your kicker. Then it tells us 12 hurdles Amopito may face. What are those hurdles? You can find details for yourself when you take a look at page 22 of the Tribune today. Then what more do we have there? It says the big one, the federal government threatens no work, no pay as ASUU declares 2-week strike. That's something that Ramsey and I spent some extended amount of time discussing a while ago. Then just above that, right end of the paper, front page still, presidency confirms, let's see, Edu's ill health. CBN governor leads Nigeria's delegation to World Bank, IMF meetings. That's in Washington. Traditionally, it is the Minister of Finance who doubles as the coordinating Minister of the Economy who leads that delegation. But on account of Mr. Edu's ill health, which has now been officially confirmed, the CBN governor will step in and lead the delegation to Washington. Global Television will also follow that development for you, especially on our program, business program here on Global Television. But let's just move on and take a look at other headlines for you. Here it says, well, quite a number of stories around banks this morning. Maybe it's a Monday factor, but let's look at the last one. It says Nigerians search for alternatives over scarcity of cooking gas. I don't know how much Ramsey has had to face a challenge in this regard, but it's quite very demanding. For some people, it is scarcity. For others, it is a hike in the price of cooking gas. And those in the sector, I mean, the stakeholders want us to blame it essentially on the strike that had been embarked upon by Pengassan. Yes, the last time. But whatever the reason may be, we understand that in this day and age, most households depend largely on LPG, as it's always called, the cooking gas, to be able to at least prepare meals for families and all of that. But if you don't have a twin problem of scarcity on the one hand and cost exactly on the other hand, then it means there's a whole lot more to deal with than we readily realize.
Yeah, of course. I was a victim over the weekend. There was no place to even get the product.
Interesting.
You couldn't. I couldn't get the gas. I don't know why my gas decided to finish this time. I was surprised when I was told the gas needs replacement. I was like, oh, all right, let's give it a try, because I already heard from someone that there is a scarcity, and I went around. I couldn't get. I had no choice. Then the only choice that I was left with is getting from a black market, and you know what that means.
Of course.
And the young man told me, he said, you can't get it anywhere. He said that you get it at this price, which is almost double of what it used to be. You know, I had no choice than to go with the choice of buying
what was available at that time.
What was available at that time. And I don't know, this strike didn't last for a long time.
And I think you're wondering, how did he come to have so much of impact?
You know, especially like you said, almost every household now use cooking gas. You use this gas. But then I think the federal government and the actors, I always call them the actors,
right?
Because I see they have their way of doing things. They should consider the average Nigerians. There is no electricity that you can say, okay, let me use electric stove or the burner. Now there is no electricity, no power supply, there is no gas. So what would people do? You know, so it's pathetic. But all the same, I think let's from today let it supply, let it go round.
Right.
Whatever, I know some people said it's panic buying. Some people said it was not in circulation. All right, so at least from the depot, let it start moving from today, so that at least Nigerians can breathe a fresh air.
Right, they deserve to breathe, right? Well, those are headlines from the Nigerian Tribune for you. We now do a flip quickly to the Daily Trust newspaper. Ramsey will walk us through those headlines.
All right, quickly, let's look at the Daily Trust newspaper this morning and see what the headlines are saying. Presidency confirmed Edun's ill health. All right, the illness has been confirmed by the presidency. We wish him quick recovery anyway. Bakari on beat as Cameroonians elect president. Flood killed 236 persons in 27 states, including FCT. And now to the big story. Strike, no work, no pay. Federal government wants ASU. I think this no work, no pay issue, I got to know about it from teachers. From teachers, there was one time secondary school teachers were striking. Then now it is still people who have their daily bread from the four walls of the university that are being faced with this right now. No work, no pay. I think this is, I don't know why it got to this level for ASU. 3 more Katsina local government areas signed peace pact with bandits. Kano issues alert over rising Lassa fever risk. Zenith Bank pays 51.3 billion naira interim dividend. Okay, then reason says objections over pardon for grave offenders. A lot of people, I've read a lot of articles about the pardon granted by the president to some inmates, even the posthumous, everyone that was granted that pardon. People are looking, this is Nigeria, of course. People look at issues from, I don't want to say both sides of the coin. This is beyond both sides of the coin. I think the edge is inclusive now. Both sides of the coin plus the edge. As a matter of fact, people are saying so many things. In fact, they categorized it into percentages. And they were looking at, based on what was on ground, previous belief and mentality. A lot of people were criticizing that. But I think we still need to sit back. What has happened has happened. People have been released. People are celebrating. Some people are celebrating. Some people are angry. I think the bottom line is Well, for every criticism, what I do for every criticism, and I feel it's so good, is after every criticism, you go back to the drawing board
Right.
and do a check again, all right? Because of other time. We are still alive, we are still going to make decisions, take decisions, and actions will still follow so that we can guide one or two things if deemed necessary.
Right. I think, Ramsey, that's making a whole lot of sense. Well, I think those are all the headlines from the Daily Trust this morning. Please do well to read out details for yourself as we now move to the Punch newspaper. Incidentally, the Wale Edun story is replicated across national dailies today because on the front page of the Punch, top left corner, you have a picture of him there, Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy. It says, Edun recovering, no plans for replacement. That headline is credited to the presidency. Incidentally, there had been rumors of some chance that President Bola Tinubu was making a move to replace him, but now we're hearing some story to the contrary. So fingers are crossed, we wish him all the best as he continues to recuperate. Naira hits 10-month high on strong FX inflows. And then a headline here with a picture from our president, Dr. Goodluck Ebele Jonathan. The kicker reads 2027, no pact with Jonathan, says Obi. Then adjacent, the name masts, Fubara retains 8 commissioners, prepares fresh nominees lists. All right, and then the Star headline tells us, ASU rejects federal government's proposal, begins 2-week strike today. Quite a number of riders with that story, but hopefully you will read up details and then be guided as regarding the context and perspective of the story. The left side of the paper, Tinubu under fire over presidential pardon for drug offenders. I think that has actually been a pain point, so to say, for many people, those who had been convicted of drug-specific offenses. All right. Then those details on page 18, by the way. More Kwara abductees rescued as military sustains pressure on bandits. Page 40 is where you find those details. Ramsey, I don't know if you're thinking in my direction, but I probably never would have thought we'll come to a day where we'll be discussing banditry and insurgency, or this intensity and magnitude of insecurity in Kwara State.
Yes, Kwara State used to be a very peaceful area.
Right.
And nobody saw it coming. Nobody saw it coming. And someone said something yesterday that it's as if there is some form of distribution of these bandits into nook and crannies of the country. Places you least expect, you'll find them there. There are some activities going on by these bandits, and it's so bad that the kind of weapons they use, the kind of intelligence they employ, you'll be thinking, you'll be forced to maybe suspect one or two things. But right now, for Kwara State, I think the earlier the better. The earlier the better. Amatekum needs to expand its territory right now because Kwara, I think Kwara is not central.
Incidentally, it's not central. Amatekum is basically restricted to the north, to the southwest.
Yes. So as it is right now, I think something needs to be done. What is happening? Every state now is trying to build something, build a stronghold to defend its territory. All right, and that is by the virtue of vigilante. State police has not been approved yet. That's not kicked off yet. So they need to do something ASAP. The governor needs to sit up, because gradually this is how they get into states and start expanding until you think it's a joke. Then they get hold of the state and you will not have anything to do anymore. Look at what is happening in Benue State. Just like joke. Some people said it's politics, it's politics. Look at where Benue State is today. Look at Plateau State. So I think every other state, and this is for every other state apart from Kwara State now, should sit up. Sit up. How do these people... See, sometimes I ask questions. what happened to our borders from state to state. We have security operatives everywhere, checkpoints everywhere. How do these people get into the state? What about the security operatives in the state? These people they move about with arms. What is happening to our intelligence? See, these are some of the things we should look at, but we just want to pray that this doesn't escalate further than it is now in Kwara State.
Quite an interesting way to put it, but again, I think it is what it is, so we have to do the needful, and the earlier the better. All right, let's go wrap it up quickly on the Punch newspaper now. As we go further down to the bottom of the front page, there's a writer here that says, I should say, a kicker. Killings. Adeleke denies hiding Amoteco commander blasts APC. Those details are on page 41. 2 arrested over mourner's death at Oshun funeral or party. All right, so those are your headlines from the Punch this morning. Do well to read up details as we turn over to the Blueprint newspaper now.
All right, let's quickly get to the Blueprint newspaper and see what the headlines they are saying. At the top of the paper said, treat gunshot victims before police report. NAD urges hospitals. I think this is a good one because we've had people have lost their lives severally because of not having police report from gunshot injury, even accident victims. You know, at a time, you need a police report before you can be treated. Even in the case of emergency, it wasn't respected. So I think this is a good move in the right direction, but then it shouldn't be taken advantage of.
Right.
Yes. And now to Benue State, Otom Alia Bika over 100 billion naira. All right, I think this is what's talking about. This is about infrastructure loan.
Right.
Otom Alia Bika over 100 billion naira infrastructure loan. Zenith Bank shareholders get 1.25 naira, 1.25 naira in dividend. Then Addison says Yakubu's reforms laid foundation for credible polls. So staff attack under ex-commission's boss. All right. Okay. Now to the big story. Presidency. Why 2025 is not yet Southeast turn. This is Omahi speaking right there.
That's 2027.
2027, I beg your pardon. Why 2027 is not yet Southeast turn. That's Omahi speaking right there. At least critical multiple billion ongoing projects. PDP risk total collapse in region if Mba join APC. Okechukwu is the one making that statement. All right, if there is continuity, even if we have multi-billion ongoing projects, I think the same federal government, we should be able to finish up. Okay, sports now. Super Eagles arrive Uyo after aircraft scare. That's a good one. Then now, federal government to deviant ASU. Your 2-week strike no longer justified. If you want to know the reason why the federal government, I think there must be a reason why the federal government will come up to say this may end up in no work, no pay. And here they are saying this strike can no longer be justified.
Right.
Since all concern already addressed. You know, you actually gave it to the Tinubu administration based on what someone said that in all the administration so far, I think this administration has given more attention to ASU as the case may be. And now they are saying all concerns have already been addressed, that this strike action cannot be justifiable. And that could be the reason why they are saying it may end up in no work, no pay.
Right.
All right, you can pick a copy of the Blueprint newspaper for more details. Fish affirm Nigeria's B rating amid declining inflation. Lagos records 3,629 cases of violence against children in 1 year. Yesterday was the Girl Child Day. 2026 Hajj, that's the kicker. Saudi releases health advisory to intending pilgrim. Those are the headlines from the Blueprint newspaper this morning.
All right, great. Let's turn to the Nation newspaper for you. We'll begin with headlines from above the nameplate. Here, top left, we have one with a picture of Minister of Works, Dave Umahi. Why Tinubu should be in office till 2031 by Umahi. Of course, that's in relation with the headline that one of the headlines Ramsey brought to us from the Blueprint newspaper a while ago. A businessman excretes 127 cocaine wraps. Dangote Cement begins operations in Cote d'Ivoire with 3.0 metric tons. Right, every other week we see multiple stories like this coming from NDLEA about people excreting all sorts, all in a bid to move illicit drugs either out of the country or into the country. But again, we must commend the NDLEA for these, the length they always have to go to just to bust these syndicates. All right. Finance Minister Edwin didn't suffer a stroke, says presidency. Again, this was part of the rumor. In fact, the rumor had several legs. One was, part of it was people saying that, he had a stroke. The other was that he had been flown out of the country for treatment. Then the third was that President Tinubu was considering replacing him. But the presidency has come out to debunk all three elements in that fake news, as we have made to understand now that it is. All right. Then the Star headline says, federal government to ASU, strike may trigger no work, no pay rule. Then what does the writer say to us? Ministers, we've made comprehensive offers. Strike from today inevitable, say lecturers. All right, what more do we have? Stock markets return hits 27 trillion naira on earnings expectations. Things are looking up, obviously. Rumpus over introduction of lottery bill in House of Reps after Supreme Court's judgment. Those details are on page 5. We understand that Supreme Court had already adjudicated on this matter, giving or ceding the powers to oversee lottery and betting to states as subnationals. The reason or the basis for which the House of Representatives is bringing up this issue, making it a debate again, is something you can read up on page 5 of the Nation newspaper today. Incidentally, that's what we're leaving it with the papers. And please do remember that all of the headlines that we bring to you here are just as published by the respective publishers. Global Television, as a media entity, or the team here on Global Morning, does not in any way make contributions to the headlines or details of these stories. When we return from this break, it will be time for Ogochukwu Mobono to bring you Social Bars.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and international.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Monday through Sunday to a wide range of latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest. And the president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and international.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Monday through Sunday to a wide range of latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
It turns out Ogorchukwu Mobono is indisposed to come on the show today. But then again, it's just some sort of pleasant coincidence that the highlight of his presentation was also going to focus on one of our big conversations this morning, which has to do with those who have now been granted pardon by the president. One would have thought, following that announcement, the whole issue would have been put to bed and then everybody moves on to their business. But as it stands today, it has become basis for debates to the point that everybody is now putting the whole issue on a scale and picking holes in all of this. But hopefully some persons also understand that this was not a unilateral decision by President Bola Tinubu. There's a committee, Presidential Advisory Committee on Prerogative of Mercy, which is led by the Attorney General of the Federation, who again doubles as the Minister of Justice. All right, overseeing that's a very important committee, and of course it's also quote unquote ratified by the Council of State, which meant just last week Thursday, again during which the issue of the nomination of a new INEC chairman was discussed and things like that. But I think you and I have to go study law, Ramsey, to be able to have this conversation in total.
This law. There is one part of law that I know. There is one part of law. That is the common sense law.
Common sense law.
Common. Well, like you said, I say it almost all the time. Whatever happens, the president take all the blame most times. But people don't know that there are some decisions that even before the president takes, there are consultations. We have special advisors. We have the Council of State. We have even some lawyers, like this issue of pardon now, like you rightly said, they'll be made, the executive met, the Chief Justice. So it's not just one person's thing, but like I said earlier during our discussion, these are issues that whether you like it or not, people will say one or two things. But the one that a lot of people are frowning at is the lady, the issue. In fact, not just that one. People, in fact, the way it is right now, you have your concern. This person have his or her concern. This person, so it is all over.
Right.
It is all over. But if these people have met and said, okay, this person was of a good behavior, this person felt remorse, one or two factors were involved why certain things happen and it became a crime, and all these things are not excuses before the law, so the law had to take its course. Then later on there is a pardon or consideration for certain reasons. I think we should just allow the sleeping dog lie. But now the question is, what is the supervisory model that will be put in place? Because if the people in prison, their mentality, the way they think is different from the people outside.
Right.
Whether you like it or not, you need to feel remorse. Because that regret will always be there.
Yeah.
Maybe because of where you found yourself at that particular point in time. What model has been put in place to checkmate the activities of these people, to get them rehabilitated into the society, incorporated into the society? I think I know there must be one or two things put together to ensure that these people are properly rehabilitated into the society, because life out there is different from the life in there for the inmates at the custodies?
Well, we hope we continue to re-engineer and rework our judicial and legal system in such a way that there can be public confidence as we make progress as a nation and as a government. Let's take a quick break. When we return, so much to talk about on Global Morning.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Monday through Sunday to a wide range of latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest. And the president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
of course, we're getting started with the first conversation. As a matter of fact, the announcement of Amopitan as INEC chairman has attracted a lot of talks from different angles. Just this morning, we are hearing that the confirmation might be very difficult. What's the reason? Some persons are saying, well, there is so much that you need to do to actually fit into this shoe. A lot of people's eyes are on INEC. Some persons are saying there is need for a reform. Some people are saying there is a legacy that needs to at least be kept. And some of the persons are of the opinion that his appointment does not go down well with them based on their own opinion. But there is a lot of gap right now because we have 2027 coming right here, and we have the confirmation which is about to happen any moment from now. What is on right now is just the appointment. But then, will he scale through the confirmation? That's one. Then civil society organizations are saying, this is what you need to do. There needs to be so much of sanitization as far as INEC is concerned. Is he the right person to do that, or he's going to continue from where Mahmoud stopped? Some persons are saying, well, this is a big shoe. Some other persons are saying, if the other people can do it, looking at the pedigree of Amopitan, he should also be able to do it. So that will form the basis for our conversation today, and for the fact that the former INEC chairman has also made a statement concerning flaws that have existed in our election, in the electoral process in Nigeria, despite the fact that we have a lot of digital inclusion in our electoral processes. He said these flaws cannot just be wiped out. If we like, we should have beavers. If we like, we should have all the electronic devices, all the digital and ICT that we know should be put together. The flaws cannot just be taken out. All of this will be talked about this morning. What are the flaws? Where are the flaws coming from? Is this something that Amopitan can actually handle as the INEC chairman? 2027 is right here. A lot of people are saying so many things, and some of the opinion that it is not going to be the usual game because of the preparation of the opposition and, of course, the preparation of the ruling government. Let's go on a quick break. A public affairs analyst, political analyst, and human rights activist, Tom Echua, will be joining me on the conversation this morning, and that will be after this break. Stay with us.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Monday through Sunday to a wide range of latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
What's your problem? What's your problem? We're on the road to protest. And the president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
Back, let's get into the conversation. My guest is already on the call, joining via phone call. Tom Echua is joining us on the conversation this morning. He's a public affairs analyst, the uncommon voice of the common man, and is also a human rights activist. Now, let's get into the issue. The discussion is about good governance and addressing impunity in Nigeria's electoral process. And now we have a new INEC chairman. We need to talk about that because of the matters arising. It's good to have you join us this morning, Tom Echua.
A very good morning to you, Ramsey. Good morning to the entire crew. I'm glad to be here.
All right, it's good to have you. All right, let's get into the discussion. How do you feel about the newly appointed INEC chairman and the exodus of Mahmoud Yakubu?
Well, if I may put it in context and perspective, it is just another day in the office. There is nothing new. His tenure had expired. He wasn't sacked. Funny enough, he's one of the few who had served his tenure 2 terms, 10 years. 10 years. And unfortunately, I do not think many Nigerians will want to remember what actually transpired in these 10 years. Well, I just think it's another day in the office. Just another day in the office. The president has just done what the law required that he does, and the man, Professor Yakubu has served his tenure. They said nature abhor a vacuum, so it's just another day in the office.
Okay, we have a newly appointed INEC chairman now that needs to be clear and confirmed before he become the substantial INEC chairman. What do you think of the 2 terms of Mahmoud Yakubu, and of course the legacy that you feel the new INEC chairman should build on, if there is any?
Unfortunately for us as a people, we have relegated very sensitive and secret offices to individuals rather than system. You know, actually what's supposed to have happened is, it's not supposed to be our business who the head of these institutions is or are, because the institution should be self-regulatory, meaning the institution should be predictory. You could be able to predict it. It doesn't matter whether it's a goat that is there, or a cat or a cow or anybody. If I ask you, Ramsey, do you know who the head of the Electoral Commission in United States is? I can bet you don't know. If I ask you same question for UK, I can bet you don't know. The reason is that it doesn't matter who becomes. The system is in place for you to superintend over the system. So whoever you bring there, we could, as Nigerians, be able to predict what you will do without you telling us what you will do. Because it's not a system that should work on the whims and caprices of an individual. It should work on the laws establishing it and the procedure of doing things. This idea of each time someone is being appointed, we either applaud, regret, or criticize, is uncalled for, because we have always thrown development and advancement to individuals rather than institutions. And it's not a characteristic of a nation seeking to be a developed nation. So I think going forward, let us create systems around offices such that you are a journalist, you are on television, and you come out every morning to be on television. It doesn't matter who else comes in. The job is just the job should define the personality that is coming in. That's what it should be. And it's unfortunate. Well, being that as it is our culture, that we must always talk about the individual that is appointed. I am caught in that same web and I cannot be excluded. So let me weigh in. You see, Professor Mahmood, I'm sorry to say, he is one who had the best opportunity to have left an indelible mark in the sands of time in Nigerian electoral system. Being that election is key to good governance, if we have thrown development, dividends of democracy to individuals, then the process that turns out those individuals should be of great concern to us. And that's why when INEC sneezes, everyone catches cold. Now, Mahmood had the privilege of superintending over two election circles, two national assemblies. So, he had conducted the 1999 election, also conducted the 2023 election. Unfortunately, given 2099 election was somehow, that's fine, because it was just coming in. But as of 2023, Ramsey, I personally participated in campaigning for people to go out and vote. Why? Because when we saw the programs that he had doled out, the strategy, I remember with nostalgia, but Senior Counsel Mike Igini, one of the INEC commissioners, former INEC commissioners, went around telling us that 2023 Rivers was a game changer, and we all celebrated it. Little wonder, I am surprised at the end to find out that the total number of votes cast was far less than what we anticipated. Out of 90 something million registered voters, you had less than 40 million people that casted their vote. It shocked me to the marrow, because that election has had all the acceptance. Civil societies were involved, NGOs were involved, everybody was just involved. It was just a game changer. But what did we get at the end of the day? Frustration, boggle opportunity, which even he himself has not been able to explain. I think he needs to explain that. And I think his successor, would-be successor, need to learn that lesson. He needs to learn the lessons that you can destroy an entire sector by your action. I can bet you that since 2023 election, are you there?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. I can hear you.
Okay. I can bet you that since 2023 election, very few people are concerned about what INEC says. Because INEC was totally at variance with what it said before the election. INEC told us so many good things. We were happy to have an election that resembled the election in the United States of America. An election that once I vote, I can be on the system and monitor results and know when the results are okay. In the United States of America, you ever see the electoral chairman announcing results? Where did you see that? The elections are everywhere, the results are everywhere, electronically everywhere. We sleep and we're glued to it. It's an interesting thing for all of us. That was what 2023 election was. So for whatever he says, for what is what now, I think people like me will take what he says with some bit of bitterness, some bit of unbelief that the sincerity of people is not there. So if it tells me the gate man was the problem, we no longer believe him anymore, because he has lost the credibility to speak to Nigerians as INEC chairman or outgone INEC chairman. So the new one need to learn that lesson.
Now, all right. I'm talking about credibility. Just yesterday, he made a statement that though technology has advanced and a lot of technology has been employed in conducting election in Nigeria, but he said something that whether or not we employ technology in our elections in Nigeria, it will not stop the flaws that has to do with making elections at the polls not to be credible. What do you have to say about the credibility of elections in Nigeria so that the incoming chairman can also take a cue, like you just said, and connecting it with the statement by the past INEC chairman?
From the outward perspective, I will not have entertained any question that has to do with any comment that comes from Professor Mahmood Yakubu. That would have led credibility to his personality. But for the sake of our audience, I would want to say it, at least for the interest of the incoming INEC chairman. Now, you have a situation where you have, he has said it all. Do you know, Ramsey, that our laws abhor electoral voting? That is what it is. So you can only play around, electronic voting. You can only play around with systems that have to do with pre-election, post-election, how you manage results. But our laws categorically abhor electronic voting. If age and time, when electronic services are everywhere, they are taking charge of every system, in hospitals, in agriculture, in defense, in diplomacy, everywhere. And then we particularly, I think that's what he was making reference to, but he had the opportunity of seeking for a repeal of that law that abhor electoral voting. In this age and time, we should have inculcated it to make a complete system. He may be right. You know why? You cannot put in analog and digital system and it work together. It will not work. You are either going to be digital or you're going to be analog. Now, what he has said now is probably he has viewed it that in as much as we are still having a non-electronic system of voting, we may not get it right. It doesn't matter what electronic system we are using to assist the voting. I am really perturbed. I am really worried. And I still want to see someone who will come out here and then justify the reason for having our elections manual. No matter what, I don't think it makes any credible sense. So one of the things I think the new INEC chairman should do, looking at those laws that abhor electronic voting, it is high time for an institution like INEC to approach the National Assembly and say, see, we are the ones conducting the elections. We are the ones who wear the shoes. We know where it pinches. We know where the problems are. Fix this situation. Let election be by electronic system. Once that is done, the entire system will work together. Secondly, the Supreme Court hinged their judgment or their ruling on the 2023 presidential election on the fact that most of what INEC did about electronic assists to voting were all under regulations. They were not laws captured in our laws. So now it is time for this new incoming INEC chairman to find a way to regularize those irregularities. Look at those Supreme Court judgment, because take it or leave it, whatever the Supreme Court says becomes law. It was late Justice Chukwudifo Puta who said that the infallibility of the Supreme Court is not because they are perfect, but they are infallible because they are final. So it is up to him now to look at those indices line by line. I'm very happy that for once we have someone who is a very senior learned personality, a lawyer, an SAN, a professor in that field. So there is no other person that would have been better better suited for that office than him at this time to cure that malaise that was created by the dichotomy between the decision of the Supreme Court and the actual action of INEC and intentions of INEC. I was surprised, Ramsey. INEC was in court to try to shift itself away from its own rules. The rules it created. I insisted on its rule. I am pretty sure that the Supreme Court may not have gone the way it went. But INEC reneged on its action. And that is a challenge. So it's up to the incoming chairman to ensure those irregularities. Nigerians are too sophisticated, they are too intelligent now to be count around. That is the only one way. And it should avoid overlooking to Nigerians. Because the former INEC chairman had bungled all opportunity. So INEC no longer resembles any credible organization anymore. So what he should do from day one as he's sworn in, he needs to kickstart the system by trying to do the job. Let what he is speak very loud that we can later hear what he is saying. I'm not saying so much and very little.
Oh, all right. Thank you, comrade. Now, let's look at one of the problems that we have in Nigeria. Remember, we are addressing impunity in Nigeria's electoral process. Some persons have advocated, all right, for what we call electoral reform. And now, the issue of vote buying, the issue of violence, ballot snatching has been one of the things that has plagued our elections in Nigeria severally. Some Nigerians are saying, well, something needs to be done ASAP concerning that. Then, as a matter of fact, ASERAP came out yesterday to say, well, one of the things that is expected that this new INEC chairman must do, all right, for Nigerians to know that he's really open doing is to ensure that electoral offenders, politicians, and every other electoral offender who are caught in the web are being prosecuted. This is something that we've not seen in Nigeria in a while. What is the possibility of making this happen? This is a big assignment on the shoulders of the newly appointed INEC chairman. Thank God, like you said, he's a legal practitioner.
Well, I think one of the things that we have clamored for is the unbundling of INEC. We don't need to have this hydra organization called INEC and saddled with so many responsibilities. Conducting election, overseeing the runnings of political parties, as well as their primaries, all their elections, prosecuting election offenders, and all of that. So it is what I am of the opinion that INEC should be unbundled. Now, it shouldn't just stop at unbundling INEC. I must insist that we must create systems to work, because in as much as we are still having this situation of building offices around individuals. See, individuals have emotions. Individuals have priorities and preferences. And that makes them judgmental and biased to see. There is hardly any individual that is not biased. I'll give you a small analogy. Ramsey, if you walk up to the bank and your cousin, your friend, or your brother is in the cashier, and the line is so very long, I bet you, naturally, that your colleague will find a way that he treats your case faster than any other person. It's a normal thing. Even though it is not acceptable, it's a normal thing. But you will not say that if you go to an ATM when the line is so very long. The ATM will never give you any preference. The ATM only works on who stands first before it, because it has no emotions. It has no bias. It has no preferences. It has no inclination to anything. That is how every office and government agencies should operate. The moment you have run foul of the law, every year, have you wondered, every 4 years, have you wondered why there is so much electoral offenses? so much violence. He said election was marred by irregularities. Irregularities are not conducted by spirits, they are individuals. Can we start having a system that puts faces to those individuals that are causing this kind of problems in the society? You see, I do not think that as Nigerians and Nigeria as a nation, we have given INEC the right place in our society. We have not. And if you don't set INEC properly, every other agencies or every other tenure of government will only be a hope for another. It is only when we fix INEC collectively and INEC becomes a star organization in Nigeria, so that once an election is conducted by INEC, no single human being will be able to doubt the credibility of that election. Its credibility will speak for itself. At that point, the right candidates will come out, the right persons will occupy the right seats, and once that happens, all those who are offenders of electoral offenders, I don't know why we still allow them walk through the streets without any consequence. Because someone has said it, I think it's written in the book of life, that when justice is not served, the heart of man grows more impure. The impunity grows when justice is not served on time. So when a man gets away with one impunity, he does a double one the next time and triples. So it is for us now to institutionalize these various institutions, and so that it does not really look at who is the individual. How would you expect a Professor Mahmood to prosecute his brother who is an electoral offender? It's just an analogy. Because he has emotions, because he has ties. But if the system is there, it doesn't matter whether it's his brother or not. It is not Mahmoud that is prosecuting him, it is the system that is prosecuting him. The moment you have run foul of the law, you are arrested, you are investigated, and it's been found that you're guilty, you serve the time. You do the crime, you serve the time. But unfortunately, we still have a very long road to go. This and others are one of those things that I think the incoming INEC chairman should focus on. And this idea of thinking that INEC is okay the way it is, I think INEC is not okay the way it is. Unbundling INEC will help in a certain way. Let them unbundle it. Let them have the tribunal out of INEC. Parties management affair out of INEC. Let INEC concentrate on conducting elections. By so doing, we can see a little bit of professionalism in INEC.
Yeah, all right. Thank you very much, Tom. While I was introducing you, I said, like I used to know you to be, you are one voice that speaks for the common man. All right. Now, let's come to governance now. All of this drama that happens in INEC, which has to do with the selection of people in governance. Remember, we're looking at good governance here. How does the effect of this, what are the implications of all this drama emanating from INEC to the elections trickle down to the average Nigerians? What is the implication of all these things we're talking about on the average Nigerians as it has to do with good governance, beginning from INEC?
Now, it is said very clearly that the night before the day will tell us how the day will be. So, if our election is faulty, you can as well guess what leadership will be. Good governance is hinged on leadership. If the leadership, the head is rotten, then you can as well tell what the body will be like. It is up to us to look at those problems. And you see, every day I see a group of young men, the Gen Zs of this world, Nigerians, shouting. A few days ago, I saw them on TV in the National Assembly advocating for electoral reforms. This is what INEC should have been doing. We have been paying lip service to this injustice to the Nigerian people for too long. I am a people's person. I live in a society I eat what they eat. I feel their pains. I understand. We are going through dangerous times, all because we don't have leaders who have thinking caps. Now, I was just following someone analysis this morning, and he said the first ever strike that was known in a university was because government tinkered with removing ice cream from their meals. Ice cream from their meals. That was when the whole hell got loose. Today, strike has become like a normal tool. ASUU had just begun a strike. Do you think if you had government that is sensitive to the yearnings of the people, do you think they will allow its people to suffer? A day out of school will give you a year of ignorance. So if you pay so much attention to education, then you will not allow one single day to go without students being in school and learning. So I believe very strongly that it all begins and ends with the leadership pattern. Today, life has become almost, let me not use the word extreme word, it has become difficult for people to live. We know what we spend on daily basis. Then you are talking about your income. Where your income vis-a-vis what you spend. People are living on the edge as it is now. Why? Because they never took the right decision in electing their leaders. This leads me to the fact that the people too are the problems. Because the people need to understand the value of the ballots they have in their hands. That ballot guarantees your safety, guarantees your well-being, guarantees everything about you. Because for a leader of a nation, he decides the fate of everyone in that country. So if our citizens begin to learn, and that's part of the job of INEC, educating Nigerians, how much have they educated Nigerians on the fact of every year you hear, go and vote, do this, go and start it, but are they really educating Nigerians? When they educating the minds of Nigerians, are they really telling Nigerians the truth about what the ballot stands for? About what they intend or their intentions or what they ought to have been doing. So these are the challenges. Nigerians need to come be awakened. Again, we saw it in 2023. That's why I tell you that 2023 it will be difficult for Nigerians to let go of that incident of 2023. Because for the first time, I was in a polling booth from 8 o'clock in the morning to 8 o'clock the next day. I was in the polling booth. Because election went down, counting went to about 3 a.m. And when it went to 3 a.m., the officers around could not go because there was no vehicle. So for security's sake, we stood there with them till the vehicle came at about 7 or 8 the next morning.
Wow.
I think Nigerians are good. Nigerians are good followers.
The 2023 election was something else because some Nigerians came out in force, in full force to actually be part of that election. And that's one election, like you said, that Nigerians cannot forget in a hurry. And as it is, we are looking forward to a repetition of that in 2027. But a lot of people are saying so many things as far as elections in Nigeria is concerned. We're actually looking at good governance, and my guest has been Tom Echua, a public affairs analyst, human rights activist, and the voice of the average Nigerians, as he is being called. But then I think you were saying something very important. That 2023 election, do you see this new INEC chairman building on it? As a matter of fact, for us to have something better in 2027 as we round up?
For me, it is not about the INEC chairman. It's about INEC. Because the truth about it is that if INEC is put in a system so that literally, don't need to know who the person is. We can predict what outcomes in effect that the election will be peaceful, election will be successful, election will be credible. So the thing is this: I have so much. Let me not doubt. I have so much doubt as to the difficulties this incoming INEC chairman will face, because he needs to convince Nigerians that INEC is the institution that they dream to have, not what they have today. Because all the opportunities, I must say, all the opportunities they had were boggled in 2023 election. So that is why I'm saying whatever he needs to do, that is first test. I think the next election is Anambra election. It will be too early for all to judge him by the Anambra election. But again, a good leader will not complain about time. He should start by that election, making sure that the election should be one of the most credible elections that Nigeria has ever experienced. That is one way Nigeria will build a hope for 2027. Because if Anambra election goes the way of previous election, people will go back to sleep. He needs to do the work and not the talk. Let him do the work now. Like I said earlier, I will repeat it again for emphasis sake. Anambra election will be a litmus test for him. So he must put in everything within the capacity of INEC to ensure that Anambra election is the freest election ever known in the history of this country. If he's so doing, that people will believe that, well, I think we have someone who is different from what the failures that we have had in the past.
All right. Thank you very much, Comrade Tom Echua. Now, I'm going to let you go because our time is already up. But the process of appointing INEC officials, what do you think of the process? Because oftentimes we used to have, during elections, we have ad hoc staff. Okay, the ad hoc staffs assist in the process of the election. Don't you think all of these can also contribute to the malpractices and the incredibilities that we have during elections? In just a minute, can we get your own view?
Well, when you ask about the process of the conduct of, the nomination of the president, the chairman of INEC, I can tell you for free that there is nothing wrong in that process. Even in the United States of America, the president of the United States of America is responsible for appointing whoever the chair of that electoral commission is. But it will work better if you have a system put in place that it doesn't matter who you appoint. You can appoint your brother, you can appoint your father, you can appoint your mother, for all we care. All we know is that the job is well cut out, legally cut out for the individual, and the individual cannot deviate from it. I will repeat it again. Until we start using system to run our affairs, not individuals. Individuals should always pretend and oversee the system without putting in their own common thinking because of their bias, their emotion, their preference, and their choices. So until we do that, we will still argue this argument as to whether the president can nominate or doesn't nominate. It doesn't hold water anywhere, because someone must be responsible for nominating the chair of that institution, and no other person is in a better place to do so than the president, as our laws have made it rightly. But why do we ask this question? We ask this question because of the aberrations that we see in these institutions. So we should build the institutions, and then we'll bother less about who appoints the individuals that occupy such institutions.
All right. Thank you very much for your contribution and availing yourself to be part of this conversation today. We look forward to a good governance, and we look forward to the confirmation of the new INEC chairman, even though some persons are saying there are some hurdles that he will need to cross over before his confirmation, and civil society organizations also pushy for the issue of impunity and credibility in our elections right here in Nigeria. Many thanks for joining us, Tom.
Thank you very much. It's our hope and our dream that the first step the incoming INEC chairman takes in Anambra election will really prove the worth of INEC, and we will all support it. But we are all ready to support INEC because it's the bedrock of any form of government in Nigeria. Get INEC right, governance right. Thank you and have a blessed day.
Thank you. We hope to have you live in the studio very soon. Thank you, Tom.
Very, very soon.
All right, this is the size of the first conversation today. As a matter of fact, we are sure that things will fall in place. Anambra election is around the corner before the 2027 election, and the confirmation of the new INEC, the newly appointed INEC chairman, is also on the way. Let's go to a quick break. After this break, we will return, and it will be time for the second conversation on Global Morning today. Stay with us.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Monday through Sunday to a wide range of latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest. And the president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day
well informed.
Stay connected from Monday through Sunday to a wide range of latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest. And the president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
Tinubu announced the, if you like, granting of pardon to quite a number of people who had been convicted of a range of crimes and offenses. One would have thought that would be the end of the matter and then maybe move on to other issues of national importance. However, that has not been the case because the last couple of days, what we have seen is a myriad of debates around who did and who did not deserve to be granted pardon. But we understand that in the eye of the law, the way this works is that it is the president that reserves that exclusive latitude to grant a prerogative of mercy based on recommendations from and by the Presidential Advisory Committee on Prerogative of Mercy, which again statutorily is headed by the Attorney General of the Federation, who is also the Honorable Minister of Justice. So you're wondering, what exactly did we miss with this one, especially when you realize that, again, this is not a solo trip, so to speak, by just the president, not a unilateral decision. It is also in consonance with members of the Council of State. To help us understand exactly what we have in front of us regarding this conversation, I'm joined by Professor Ibrahim Abubakar. He's our in-house analyst in areas of politics, economy, and security. Prof, thank you and hope you had a great weekend.
Yeah, good morning. I have a great weekend, but I thank God for everything.
Right. So what exactly makes this case different? Of course, you and I know that this is definitely not the first time a president in Nigeria would be granting, exercising his powers to grant prerogative of mercy. Why are we debating?
Well, I'm not even after the debate. I am really going to go straight to what has taken place and the lack of professionalism in handling issues like this.
On whose part?
On the part of the advisors and the decision makers. Call adequate challenges and input on the people, on the part of the inmates. And there is that thread of them going through the procedures of change and the rest. So they are supposed to be visited by psychologists and other people, even the religion bodies, to also see that there is an adequate attitude of change. Because the human behavioral pattern, psychologically, they are supposed to be followed. So to now said, we recommend that this person can actually go back, reconcile to the society, and because of what we have seen in him. Then, in that case, that process of pardon can be followed. You can be parole, or it can be in any other form. But be as it may, was these procedures followed? I think that is where the debate is coming from.
Right.
And again, we also have this posthumous pardon they give to people like Ken Saro-Wiwa and the group, and Mama Vasa and the group. To me, that is the area of focus.
Well, why is that the case?
The case is because I will say congratulations to the family of Ken Saro-Wiwa and his
the other elders from Ogoni.
Yes, and also say congratulations to Mama Vasa and family, meaning that people like Babangida has to be prosecuted.
On the basis of this action?
Yes. Because this is a decision taken by the councils of state. And if we can't prosecute Babangida and his co-travelers, then the reasons for that misgiving should be paid by the federal government to the families of these people.
In lieu of prosecuting former head of state
yes.
Ibrahim Babangida.
Yes. Then the federal government has to adequately compensate the families of these people. Because it shows definitely that these people were having no hand in what they were accused of.
So they were wrongfully, falsely accused.
Yes.
But again, that looks like a pipe dream when you say prosecutes Babangida. Does it look like government has, because this is not the first time issues like this are coming up, and there are people calling, even regarding the annulment of the 1993 presidential election and things like that. Do we look like we have the willpower to want to go that route just yet?
Yeah, if we don't go that route, we are not ready to take that route, we are not ready to take that route, then we are still going to remain in the position where we are today. Because it will get to a stage where somebody will come out and say, why are you prosecuting me when that man was not prosecuted?
So you are saying, I mean, invariably that there's something that the Presidential Advisory Committee on Prerogative of Mercy missed out in this case?
Yes, a lot. If you are going to international security process, on granting of amnesty, pardon, prerogative of mercy, and clemency, then you should know that that act states why that has to be granted, mostly when it is posthumous.
Talking about posthumous, there's one that is very controversial as well, the one of Herbert Macaulay. Some learned people, I mean by that I'm referring to lawyers, are thinking that the Tinubu administration, and indeed the federal government as it stands right now, post independence, does not have the powers to grant such amnesty or clemency, to use your term, because their argument is hinged on the fact that it was the British colonialists that convicted him. And as such, it will also require the British authorities, as it stands today, under the law, to, if you like, address this issue of clemency or pardon. So I know you're not a lawyer, Prof, but what are your thoughts in that regard?
Well, I will bring in the security into this. Are we there? Are we there before the colonial master came in? Was there a society, was there people in Nigeria before the colonial master came in? If that is true, that is why sometimes I argue and I tell people that we don't have independence, we have a nation, not independence. If we are independent, yes. But as a nation, no. That is why somebody can come here and start telling us about the British rule and what is the rules of the society as at today. Herbert Macaulay, was it justifiable? Was the British rule or the British laws entertain and accommodate what happened to Herbert Macaulay? Will it have happened to a British man as at that period? If it is no, then I see no reason why anybody should argue, whether logically or whatever, on the issue of Herbert Macaulay.
It's interesting.
Because it was an injustice to the entire black race. Not just Nigeria, but the entire black race. And if it is an injustice to the entire black race, I see no reason why anybody should jump up and say it is the British that are supposed to give him posthumous clemency. It's not done anywhere. In fact, the British are supposed to pay Nigerian government.
For damages?
Yes. Yes, we are taking some rules for granted.
Okay, it looks like, again, this is beginning to also raise issues around the circumstances that led to Nigeria's independence, which some people are also now debating, saying that we may have been declared independent, but Nigeria has not been extricated from the apron strings of not just the British colonialists, but the global West generally. Talk to us from that standpoint, Prof.
I have said it severally that we have not gotten independent. What we got was a nation, and the document stated clearly.
Nationhood.
Yes, it did not declare us as an independent nation. It declared us as a nationhood.
What's the difference?
Independent means that I have a right to make my rules, to debate my rules, to make everything go by all processes and lead myself by my rules and my laws. But what we have here is coming to rule us. That is why we go to Caterham to debate our political stance. Will the British come here to make any debate on who becomes the Prime Minister or not the Prime Minister of Britain? They will do it. So we are not independent. We wash our rubbish in Caterham every time. We go there, we lobby them to become who become the president and who become this and that in Nigeria. Are we not having people who are not supposed to be ministers because of one reason or the other, and they are ministers in Nigeria, who are agents of imperialists, who are actually on espionage activities in Nigeria? We have them. So what are we saying?
Does it mean security, the security, if you like, authorities are not aware of this espionage that you allege?
If they are aware, in what country have you seen somebody that has gotten, what nation, what country have you seen somebody that has got security clearance and getting an appointment by also being cleared by the National Assembly now comes to become an issue? What nation, what secure nation has that ever happened? We watch our dirty lannies. Very soon, anybody that goes to the West from Nigeria, they are going to look at him as a candidate of forgery.
Of course, that's in veiled reference to the former minister in Najee's case.
Not only, this has been happening.
Over time?
Yeah. Did you remember Salisu Buhari?
Yes, House of Representatives Speaker.
Do you remember Kemi Adesina?
Former Minister of Finance.
So it is it is something that is very clear. I've been to a place in Mexico where a Nigerian doctor, medical doctor, was presenting his credentials, and they were now looking at it and say, "Are you sure this is not Toronto?"
Okay, Prof, let's single out a couple of cases here. There's also the concern we have seen. I mean, look at the papers today. In fact, since the weekend into today, Monday morning, you realize that for the most part, Nigerians, including the political class, have been busy highlighting some of the cases that have been affected by the president's declaration or granting of pardon. Some of them have to do with drug-related offenses. Is that supposed to be concerning? After the president is doing nothing more than exercising the powers that have been conferred on him by the Constitution.
Well, if you are a drug peddler or racketeer and you have decided to change, I don't see any reason why I should say no, that person has not changed, or it is because of some special interest.
Right.
So the only thing that gives rooms to all this is because they feel that there are some special interest. Mostly, as Mr. President also has been accused to belong to one of the drug cartel before, which is an alleged to be. So everybody that is pardoned in issues relating to drugs goes back with that resounding alleged being put against Mr. President. So if we can say they are granting clemency to a murderer, why would the drug issue becomes a problem?
I think for some people, if you look at the graph, Prof, you realize that the number of people in the category of drug-related offenses, all right, is way higher than you have in other categories, all right? We have it on the screen right now. I mean, if you look at it, you see drug-related offenses, 70 cases, 40%. And then, of course, you have illegal mining offenses, financial, white-collar crimes, and what have you. But to the best of my knowledge, you are not a member of the Presidential Advisory Committee on Prerogative of Mercy. But, I mean, you have been here long enough, for decades, and you have followed these developments. What do you think, what are your sentiments about some of the indices or criteria used in determining who deserves to be pardoned and who does not?
The issue of drugs, when we want to talk of drugs, I want to look to the laws. What is the maximum punishment for drug and what is the minimum?
Right.
The minimum is about 6 months. In some cases, there are options of fines. In other most cases, depends on the quantity. So, what is so much about drugs and what is drugs? Everything you take in and out is drugs.
But there's something called illicit substance, Prof.
Illicit, yes, but anything you are consuming contains drugs.
But no one is approved for consumption and is duly regulated.
You see, there is some things we do. I want to use what we call cannabis, India hemp, for example. Based on research, if we implement and sensitize the people who are dealing in this, they will not even sell it to anybody because there is more money to make out of it when well processed than when you are selling it as this thing. But we don't go into research, and even if we go into research, we don't implement anything. We don't patent our research works. And if the Drug Law Enforcement Agency here in Nigeria, what we call NDLEA, are very serious. If I am in a position, I will have actually allowed them go because they are not doing any favor to Nigeria. We are not supposed to be arresting and detaining people because of drugs, because there is so much to be made from what God has given us from that segment. In fact, Nigeria can make up to $50 billion from cannabis alone.
Per annum?
Yes.
So you're saying that this hula baloo about drugs is unnecessary?
We don't look at the economic potentials. We are not looking at the economic potentials. We only look at the effect. So we are paying people's salary, wasting our resources, whereas we are borrowing, instead of looking at the economic dimension to it. So some of these agencies are not supposed to be there.
So you're saying one of two things should happen. Either we scrap the NDLEA altogether or we review their mandate. Is that the point?
Yes. We either scrap them or we review their mandate. Because I know every agency in Nigeria can actually generate so much. We are going cap in hand, borrowing and begging for services. When we are supposed to generate so much, we are not generating because we are not looking inward. So we look at it as social services and be paid for social services.
All right.
In fact, from all the agencies put together, we are supposed to have free medications, we have free health services, free education in Nigeria, free housing in Nigeria, and the rest. So we are not looking at what is that sector going to be. And that is why people say we are not productive.
All right, Prof, let's take a quick break at this point. When we return, there's a lot more to talk about this issue of the pardon that has been granted by the president to quite a number of people who have been convicted of a wide range of offenses and crimes. After this break, please do stay with us. All right, let's just wrap it up real quick. Prof, there are people who have also tried to, as is always the case with most of the things that happen in Nigeria, tie this development to the politics of 2027. I mean, 2027 is still quite far-flung, if you ask me, looking at the regular calendar, even though it appears politicians have their own special calendar. But can we not just have this kind of conversation? Can we not have a situation where the president, in exercise of his his constitutional powers, all right, grants amnesty or clemency without having to tie to election cycle?
Well, everything in Nigeria is tied to politics, and that is very, very amusing sometimes when people speak about some decision taken because it is political. I'm not looking at political at that tune. So if you look at it, so did Trump now said that R. Kelly should be released because of politics?
And of what political benefit will R. Kelly be to him?
Yes. So are you saying Momo Vasa is going to give him votes? Or Kensaro Wiwase are going to?
Some people say it might help him appeal to the conscience of some voters from where the mark came from.
No, that is just what people don't understand. The decision can be taken not because of some favors or some this that you need from it. But I can assure you, if anybody believes that, it is very easy to remain in captivity, stay in detention for 24 hours and 48 hours, then you know the difference.
Okay, Prof, I think that's the much time we allow us talk about this issue this morning. We are so grateful that regardless of your busy Monday schedule, you're still here to come help us find sense in this development. Thank you so very much.
Thank you very much, and thank you, everybody.
All right, we're taking a break at this point, everyone. When we return, to be time to put the icing on the cake and wrap up the program for you.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Monday through Sunday to a wide range of latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest. And the president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
Sometimes you probably can't help wonder when or at what time we are going to just be done and find closure in terms of discussing our electoral process in Nigeria. But then again, because a lot of things revolve around the election and their outcomes, it just happens to be a conversation that is sort of practically endless. The reason you saw our guest this morning when Ramsey engaged him was busy talking about, just helping to establish a trajectory in terms of the pattern that we have seen in terms of the leadership of INEC. But we are here today. A new gentleman has now been nominated. Let's see what happens at the Senate when he gets to go for confirmation, and then his leadership as well will be tested.
Yeah, well, that's true. We've spoken extensively about that. And of course, keep our fingers crossed to see, even though they say there are hurdles that we need to cross for his confirmation. I think that's in order.
Right, sure. Of course, Global Television will also bring you that broadcast when it gets on the way. That's